I found being sexual really, really hard. I had that prudish piece. My whole education from my mother was guard yourself. Men are dangerous. They're going to hurt you or they're going to make you pregnant, and you don't want either of those things. So that was instilled in me. So I grew up instinctively distrusting men. That was the deep sexual shadow that I had. I didn't want to be seen. It changed my whole attitude to men. It was like, I can feel safe in the energy of men. Maybe not all men, but maybe not all women either. It changed me to know that there's a safety in there. I chose to do 100 days of self-pleasure. I committed to 45 minutes a day, and I built up to it. It took me a while to get there, but that was life-changing. That now means that I own my body.
Hello, beautiful souls. It is Sophia from Sacred You. Thank you so much for being here. Before we dive into today's podcast, I do have a small request from my heart. If our conversations ever resonate with you or have supported you on your journey, please subscribe to our channel or like this video. It helps us grow Sacred You, welcome more powerful voices into this space, and keep you connected to everything we share. Thank you for walking this path with us. Let us begin with today's conversation. Welcome to the Archetypes of the Soul podcast. My name is Sophia from Sacred You. I'm really excited because with me in today's episode is the beautiful Helen Rowlands. Helen, thank you so very much for joining us today.
You're most welcome, Sophia. It's always lovely to have a conversation with you.
Thank you. And I love talking to you, and really about today because you're the creator of Pleasure Waves. Your whole website, which we're going to go into, is all about pleasure waves, your whole business, your whole life. And you are also an erotic blueprint coach. And there's so many erotic blueprints that I really want to talk about, get into that. So Helen, I'd love to start because we're also mentioning the awakener's journey. The awakener is one of the archetypes, even in Sacred You, for anyone who's living in life. We slowly start to awaken to different things around us, whether it's people on a spiritual path or any type of path, realizing that there is more to life. I'd love to know about you and your journey of being an awakener and going from prudish in the world to stepping into your full power. How did you get to where you are now?
Such a wonderful question, Sophia. So, yes, I discovered the erotic blueprints at a very low point in my life. I'd just come out of 3 diagnoses of cancer over a 2-year period, and I had gone down some medical model treatment, not a lot, but I'd done some other things. And at that point in my life, I was really looking for answers because I was left with more problems than I started with. And I discovered Jaya and her work in the erotic blueprints and felt described as a person for the first time in my life. So what I resonated with was the description of being an energetic blueprint. This is a framework that really helps you claim your personality. So the energetic blueprint feels all of the energies. And at that point in my life, I was feeling all of the energy, but I was at the effect of the energies. I was not in my power working with energy in a positive way, and my health was deteriorating. I also resonated with being essential. I was more essential blueprint. I was more empowered in my central. The central just loves anything to do with the senses, taste, smells. I just love food, and I love textures, and I always wear interesting clothing, as you do, Sophia. Here you are with your beautiful textured poncho that you're wearing today. So I see both of those blueprints in you. And I started playing with these blueprints. I expanded into my central. And this is that prudishness that I spoke about in the notes that I gave you. That's part of the central blueprint. When I went into overwhelm, I would shut down and not be able to let affection come in, or I just had this persona of being a very prudish person, prickly as well. And I grew up in a home where my auntie in particular and my mother were fairly prudish women. My auntie, bless her heart, beautiful woman named Margaret, like a person in the royal family, wore Fletcher Jones kilts and twin sets until the day she died. So she just dressed like a prudish woman. She was very erect and very proper. And you would serve the tea in bone china, you minded your P's and Q's, and there was no laughter, there was no fun. So this is the soup that I grew up in. My mum was not as prudish as this, but she certainly came up from that sort of background. I resonated with that sort of side of things. What was the other one that I said? Prudish, and there was another one that I said. I can't remember what I, but
Yeah.
yeah,
It's all about stepping into your power. How did you
exactly.
go from that, from the way you were brought up,
Yeah,
into becoming who you are?
into becoming, yeah. So what I did with that part of myself is as I grew in the blueprints, I spent a year or so exploring the central blueprint and growing in that one. And then I've been on a 5 or 6 year journey exploring the energetic blueprint because there's no end to exploring energy and expanding in it. I started to own these different parts of myself. And I did some persona work, which was really interesting work. I adopted a couple of different personas. So, one I adopted was prudish prudence. And it was deep work. It's not just dress ups. It was really creating this person called Prudence, dressing like a prudish person, behaving, talking in different ways in a prudish sort of way. And then I asked my husband to take prudish Prudence out for tea and cake. Because that was all part of this, the tea and cake, that whole culture to envisage the royal family type of persona. And I found that actually really deeply healing. It went into those deep aspects of being prudish. And now it gives me the ability to be at choice. Do I want to say, do I want to shut out certain things and go into that prudish way of being, or do I want to just be more open to intimacy experiences and to deep connection with other people? So that was really a beautiful piece of work. And the other one that I created was Pathetic Pamela. And I was working with some Americans on this one, and they couldn't understand Pathetic Pamela at all. But she sniffed like this, and she wore a footy scarf. She was a footy barracker. And that was part of my growing up. My dad would take me to the football. And I didn't enjoy the football game at all, but I was fascinated by the people sitting in the audience. So and that part I worked with because an energetic can be very critical of other people. Only their way of doing things is the right way. And I felt very critical of people at the football. I felt very critical of these women who were drinking their beer and eating their pies and shouting at the team and telling them what they should do. And so by becoming that person, I was able to feel more into them and have more acceptance. So this last week, I took my dad to the football, my 94-year-old father, and I felt so much more relaxed. And I actually enjoyed the game a lot more than I would have because I was not bound up in thoughts about, oh, look at how that person's behaving. And if you're an Aussie, you understand what the football spectators, there's this whole persona around people who go to the football and they're busy telling the footballers what they should be doing, all this sort of stuff.
Yes, yes, they definitely are, and yes,
Yeah.
definitely an Aussie trait, and possibly all in different parts of the world too, in America,
Yeah.
and the soccer and everything else. But yeah,
That's right. Yeah. So as I've gone more so deeply into these aspects of myself and used different tools, that's just one tool. A persona work was a very beautiful tool to use. I've been able to deeply own these aspects of myself and yeah, start letting go of that critical person who would just look at another and not see the beauty in that person, but just see the faults and yeah, and let go of that holding back that I see characterized as a prudish person.
I love
Yes,
I
yes.
love, yeah, I loved it. Thank you, Helen, because we're talking about archetypes, and that's what personas are, or that's what archetypes are. They're just different
Is
personas,
it personas? Yeah.
different personas, whether you call it archetypes or personas or even blueprints, all the different
Yes.
blueprints that you come up, and they're just personalities that we all have within us that can be controlling our life in different ways. But we can also use, like you, to help heal those personas that we've taken on from childhood,
Exactly. Yes.
from different people. And I'd love to know, in your experience, especially your personal experience with pathetic Pamela and prudish Prudence, love that one. Why do you think it's so important to acknowledge, to lovingly acknowledge the hidden parts of ourselves instead of rejecting them? Because so many people, especially women, we consciously or even unconsciously reject those personas, like people who are not prudish, but yet there is a
Yes. Yeah. I think, yeah, once we start uncovering them, we're getting really into shadow work. We're getting into the sides of ourselves that we don't want to see, that we're happy just to keep them off to the side. I think as I look at that work that I did, I was actually healing long held patterns in my female heritage.
yes,
So it wasn't just for me, it was I just became warmer and more accepting of people all around me. And that's had an effect right through my family of origin, and it's had an effect in my coaching work. It just released these patterns, and that these were inherited patterns, a
yes,
lot of them. Yeah. We really have the genes of our grandmother and our great grandmother, and the traumas and all the experiences that have come along. Yeah, and I think finding really good tools to examine those things and good guidance is a really important process. Yeah. So one of the I identify in your list of archetypes that you're working with in the Sacred You community, I identify very much with the awakener. And one of the words that came to me with the awakener as I was looking at the descriptions of it, is that I was born with clear. So clear cognizance is clear knowing, and I just know things. And
yes,
that's what it helps you to be a truth speaker because when I know something, it's the truth. And so when I speak, the things that just come to me, when I listen to that intuitive message, the clear cognizance, the clear knowing, it's inarguable. And yeah, it's a very big part of that awakener persona. And I think, yeah, so when I see things like, oh, I'm prudish, it's a knowing. And yeah, I see this in my work too. I just know things as I listen to my clients and hear the patterns, and I can say, okay, I know this is this shadow that they're working with. And then I can sit with that. In my early days with the Awakener, I used to be just frustrated because I'd see, why can't other people know that stuff? And I wouldn't be kind in the way that I would deliver the information. Because I think you should know this, it's so obvious. But over the years, I've learned to be gentle and to create tools and to help guide people into that knowing, and then starting to put that spotlight on myself and work with those aspects of myself has helped me deepen in that process.
It's very true. And thank you for explaining that, because
Yeah.
so many people have that. And I hear you. You're totally speaking my language, especially about being claircognizant, that we think that everyone else should know.
Yes.
Even if it's very simple. One of the things that, if I can share very quickly, that I had a lot of trouble with growing up is that people don't think the way that I do.
Yes,
Well, I
that's
don't think
right.
the way that other people do. Now, like you, it's yes, and there's a lot more understanding
Yes.
that no, not everyone does think like I do. Not everyone can see the things the way that we see them, and
Yeah.
not always simple for other people. It's just
Yes. Yeah.
so I hear you like that, and knowing about the archetypes and using the knowledge of the archetypes, using the power to help us in our daily lives, also really helps us understand. So I'd
Exactly.
love to know for you more, Helen, from you, with the archetypes, with the awakener, for example, but also with your blueprints, with the erotic blueprints. And I'd love to go into all of them if you wish to.
Yes.
But how do they help you, and how can they help women in their daily lives to really to let go of the past and to really step into their power,
Yeah.
their identity of who they truly are?
Yeah. So Jaya, when she created the blueprint framework, created a whole picture of the blueprint in its superpowers and the shadows. I've spoken a little bit about the shadow of the energetic. The energetic tends to be hierarchical. Their way is the best way of doing things, and often is, but because of what they see, but that can come across as a bit snobbish. And what else is the shadow of the energetic? Experiences can come at them too fast, too soon. So I used to be terrified of places like markets because there was so much activity happening all in different places. My nervous system would go into overwhelm being on a tram and in a crowded space. Just been to Melbourne, so I'm talking about trams, light rails. Yeah, being in a crowded space with people pressing up against your body can just put you into freeze and into terror. So working with the aspects of the energetic and learning how to breathe and be in your own space and in the spaciousness, and not putting yourself into experiences that will short circuit you so quickly is a way of working with that. You can go to the market in the non-peak times and get on the public transport at 10 a.m. in the morning instead of 7:30 a.m. in the morning when there's going to be a crush. So I've learned to structure my life in ways that keep my nervous system regulated. So I keep talking of energetic, then sensual. The sensual can be overwhelmed by bad smells, anything to do with the environment. So essential, if you have a lot of that sensual, you want to keep your environment spacious. The shadow of the sensual is clutter, just too much stuff everywhere because they want to own all the pretty colored things and all that sort of stuff. And I still suffer terribly from that one. I still have just clutter, too much stuff, but an empowered sensual has a beautiful environment that really feeds them. Anything to do with the senses is nourishment for a sensual. So creating that environment. When I bought my home up here in Queensland, I bought an energetic sensual home. I have a very spacious home. I have a really large bedroom with these views, huge windows with views out across a valley, and I see beautiful mountains and I see rainbows. I have birds coming into the garden, and yet it's quite a sensual home at the same time. So I'm living my whole life by this blueprint. And then, of course, I married a sexual, the next blueprint in the list that Jaya provides. And the sexuals are just straightforward. They don't muck around. They just want to get things done. This task needs to be done, so there's no diverting left or right. You just get on with the task. Same in the bedroom. They're just very direct. It's the male stereotype, but it can be, these are not gendered. Females can have that personality type as well. We're here to get the job done. And the big shadow for the sexual is shame about their directness. They can feel a bit of shame around, yeah, just their desire for everything to be straightforward and not understanding that an energetic will take the longer path, will want to make sure every little nuance has been dealt with along the way. So the sexual journey is often learning to slow down and enjoy the journey in the bedroom and out of the bedroom. Yes. Yeah, we'll go on a holiday with my husband and he suddenly decides we've seen enough things and I think we're just about to get to the exciting part and he'll just want to go home. And I think, no, we're on a journey. We're here. The sun's going to go down. There's going to be this beautiful sunset and I want to sit and breathe in the sunset and take in this environment. And we've done all the things on the list. Let's go. Yeah, so that directness. Yeah, then so I'm relating it to the bedroom, but outside, life outside, because these are personality types, as you said. The kinkies, they bring in a lot of fun to things, but the kinkies are their own group. There's so much to being a kink, it's really vast. And what we find with the blueprints is people, they can take a quiz and they can think that their mind says, I'm this and this, and that's the response that they get. And then they start playing on the body and they find, oh, actually, my primary blueprint is kinky because the body doesn't lie. So they can enjoy impact on the body. They can enjoy psychological games, a bit of adventure. So a trip to the city would involve some intrigue and different things like that. There's so many different ways of expressing their kinks. When a kink is fully realized in their kink, when they have really gone into their fantasies and learnt how to create those fantasies in their life, they just have the most enormous nervous system capacity. They're seen to be some of the most psychologically balanced people on the earth. But there's a lot of taboo about being kink, so people will deny that they're actually kinky and not want to admit to those fantasies. So the pain for the kink is that they want to pretend that they're not that. There's a joke about the wide-mouthed frog. There aren't any wide-mouthed frogs around here. The kinks are the same, the whole sort of thing. I don't want to be that type of person. My husband is hugely kinky, and at times he owns his kink, but at times he just does not want to be a kink at all. Here am I, energetic sensual, and I married a man who's sexual kink. And a kink needs to learn to express their desires. They've got to get those fantasies out of their mouth and then learn to negotiate to make those things happen. So they might want to go to the city and do something completely outrageous, and the person that they're going with might then need to say, okay, I can do this bit of that, I can do that bit of that, but I can't do the whole thing. That's too scary to go to that place or to do that thing. I'm not ready for it. Or you go and I'll wait for you or whatever. It's that whole negotiation, but huge skills to learn. And I found as we've worked with the kink stuff together in our relationship that we have become enormously better communicators and enormously better at asking for what we want and maybe getting a yes or a maybe or a no. It's just being brave and putting it out there. Yeah. Is that making sense to you, Sophia?
That makes total sense. And for anyone who is listening or watching and you want to know more about these blueprints, click on the links below and reach out to Helen.
Yeah.
And is there any other blueprints that we?
Yes. So the last one is the shapeshifter, and the shapeshifter just loves everything. They're lovers. They just love, oh, they're the ones who can often feel like they're too much though, because they just want lots of stimulation. They can be energetic, they can be sensual, they can be kinky, they can move from one to the other. Yeah, I'm trying to think who would be a good example of a shapeshifter. There's some actors who are really good at doing just a whole variety of personas. There's some actors, I was watching a show the other day and I'm thinking you're exactly the same character you were in the last show that I watched you in, and that this is not resonating. And there are some actors who can just be anyone and everything. Is there one coming to mind for you, Sophia? Is there someone
Right
that
at
you
the
can
moment,
give an
no.
example? But you know what I'm saying. There are some actors who they're so convincing in whatever they do. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So
I
they
like
can
that.
shapeshift. They can be a villain and then they can be a lover and then they can be a sweet mother. And yeah. Kate Blanchett, I think, would be an example. She could be a drug addict in and really down and out in one film, and then she can be loving and sweet in another. Yeah, she's a very accomplished actress
Yes,
or
and
actor.
shapeshifter, and it's interesting to see if she's done her blueprint quiz, because you do have a
Yes.
blueprint quiz if you want.
Yeah. Jira's worked with a lot of very high profile people over the years exploring their blueprints. Yeah.
Yes,
So, yeah, it's a very powerful tool. And then another way you can use it in real life is that you can use it to relate to another person. So I know my blueprint and I know my husband's blueprint, and I know when he goes into freeze and he's not able to ask for what he wants, the shame of the sexual or the kinky blueprint. And I can recognize that and say, okay, he's not actually pushing me away. He's just gone into his own stuff. He's gone into, I can't ask for that. Yeah, so it can be helpful for working with bosses, not in a sexual way, but looking at their patterns and saying, okay, my boss has reached, they're at their limit and they actually need some time out. So I'm not going to go in and ask them a question right now because they've got a lot of energetic in them and they need some space to process all of the stuff that's going on. So maybe tomorrow morning would be a better time to come and ask my question.
I hear you on that one.
Yeah.
That, that's even within ourselves too, Helen. This is leads me on to my next question, but to know our own limits and to know when you know your blueprints or your archetypes too,
Yes.
when you've reached your own limit and you need time out, and
Yeah.
okay, you can,
Yeah.
because we all experience it.
That's right. And that is one of the shadows of the energetic. They're not very good at holding boundaries until they learn how to. They're not very good at saying, I've had enough. This is not the time to ask me that question. Can you come back in an hour or come back tomorrow? They're not, I work a lot with energetics and sensuals, and a lot of my work with energetics is helping them to set boundaries, helping them to say, that's just going to run me into the ground. That's one thing too many, and my nervous system's not going to manage that.
Yes, yes. There's so much to talk about, Helen. You're going to have to come back to for a part two. Really, really are, because we can go even deeper into the blueprints and the archetypes and knowing your blueprints. We're talking about the blueprints, and you've also mentioned about the awakener archetype. How can the blueprints act as like a bridge between the awakener or any other of the archetypes and help us really in a physical way of lived experiences?
Yeah. I think, yeah, the short answer to that is that 8, 9, 10 years I've worked on my blueprint, really living in my blueprint, has brought me into a place where I look at the awakener and I think I've owned every part of that. I'm vibrating in that frequency. Yeah. And it's been a gentle letting go of those layers of shadow, finding the tools to let go, finding the tools to expand into the positive parts of the energetic, to enjoy the energy, and to flow with the energy. Yeah, not to be at the effect of it.
Yeah, which is all about the sacred feminine.
Totally.
And
Yes.
connecting with that sacredness, that energy within us.
Yeah. And learning to live a life of pleasure.
Yes. And not disowning it, not
Yes.
disowning yourself, that we are in bodies for a reason.
Yeah.
And it is okay to experience pleasure in whatever way it works for you.
Yes. Yeah. We're in potent bodies as females.
We are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's much more on the spectrum. I said we've got so much more to talk about. And for you, Helen, again, in your experience, and we can talk about the erotic blueprints, the sensual and the sexual and everything else, and also the sacred feminine. And the sacred feminine can be sexual or not, can be
Exactly.
sexual,
Yeah.
which is very much into the energetics as well. So, in your experience, what happens when a woman really finally gives herself permission to fully embody the blueprints and experience pleasure without guilt or shame?
Without guilt. Yeah. There's a lot of aspects to that. I remember I did my sensual, I really embodied the sensual. I did an expansion into the sensual. That was the first one that I chose to do. And I spent 12 months really expanding into my sensual so that I could walk through the city streets and feel beautiful in my clothing and in myself. The sensual is fed by lots of touch. The sensual's not getting touch, they'll go into addictions. Contouring touch, massaging touch. So I was feeding my sensual and felt really empowered in my sensual. And I would go into the city and strangers would stop me in the street and say, "Wow, you look amazing." I was letting my radiance shine. So can you see even just that little bit of massaging that I did on my body's lit up? My body is so wired now to receive my own sensual touch from my lover that everything lights up. I've given that deep somatic permission to my body to enjoy this contouring touch. Let's go into the sexual blueprint. I found being sexual really hard. I had that prudish piece. And my whole education from my mother was guard yourself. Men are dangerous. They're going to hurt you or they're going to make you pregnant, and you don't want either of those things. So that was instilled in me. So I grew up instinctively distrusting men. And that was something for me to work through and to release. And one of the experiences I had with that was to go on a Vipassana, sit on a cushion for 10 days, women on one side of the hall, men on the other side of the hall. And I could feel the vibration of the men. And I thought, that is not a dangerous, nasty vibration. That is a beautiful vibration. So those men would have been mainly energetics, primarily energetics, because they chose to go and sit on a cushion and be silent for 10 days. But it changed my whole attitude to men. It was like, I can feel safe in the energy of men, maybe not all men, but maybe not all women either. But it changed me to know that there's a safety in there. So yeah, the sexual I had to develop and allow, and that was part of it. Releasing that part in my energetic gave me permission to be more sexual, to be more comfortable with my own naked body, not wanting to hide my body away. That was the deep sexual shadow that I had. I didn't want to be seen. Yeah. Kink I explored too, yeah, all of the different aspects, the learning to ask for what I wanted and live my fantasies, but learning to work with my husband and to work with his fantasies and what we could make work and what wasn't going to work. Yeah, so many different ways that we can explore those aspects of ourselves.
There certainly is. It's a lifelong journey.
It is, yeah.
Can I take a moment, Helen, just to really honour you?
Thank you.
to stepping into your power and helping other women do the same. But you are a living example of what your life can be
Yeah.
when you do go down the road of exploring your archetypes or your blueprints, your personas, helping that to heal the past. Because you're right, we all come from many generations of prudish people.
Yeah.
Our ancestors were, back in the days, wherever you came from, of being very prude and proper. So that is within us, and that can hold us back.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I'd love to know, Helen, before we do wrap up, looking back on your journey, your awakening journey, would you like to share a transformative moment for you, like emotionally or even spiritually? And how did the blueprints or the archetypes help you?
You want a really full-on one?
Yes, because you're not the only one. This is the wonderful thing that I love talking to women like you, and why all our listeners are like, there's so many women out there who are still very much in the shame mode,
Yeah.
but yet we're all very similar. If you take off all the layers, we're all very
Yeah.
similar. So for you to share one of your moments will help someone else.
One of the processes that I decided to undertake for myself, this was many years into the blueprint process, and I don't recommend this for people unless they're really ready and they've got a mentor to walk them through it. I chose to do 100 days of self-pleasure. And it was just 45 minutes of being with my body, playing in the blueprints on my body. And I deeply explored my body, and I found out how potent my body actually is. And wired in orgasmic experiences, really exploring whole vibrations through my body, all sorts of things. So to me, that's a peak experience. Now I know what my body's capable of. I didn't do it over 100 days. I did it over 150 days. I gave myself grace days, but I committed to 45 minutes a day, and I built up to it. It took me a while to get there, but that was life-changing. That now means that I own my body. Yeah, and the energy, because I worked with the energy field as well. I didn't just work somatically, I worked off my body as well. Yeah.
Can be very powerful. Thank you so much. I said, please do come back. For anyone who is listening, click on the links below, check out everything that Helen has to offer, because you do offer coaching and so much more. The erotic blueprint, you can do your own quiz. Is there any other question that I could have asked you, Helen?
I think it's been very comprehensive, Sophia. I think we've had a great discussion yet again. So thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we need to come back and have a part 2 and a part 3 to go into the blueprints, which are also the archetypes, each one, and really how we can use it to help heal our past and step into the power of our future.
Yeah. Yeah, the blueprints are a beautiful framework, and they're extremely healing. The way Jaya's structured the program, and I suggest people spend 6 months to 12 months just peeling off the layers. Doing the quiz is only the beginning. It just gives you a little idea of where you could head. But what she's created is a very powerful healing process. So thank you for giving me the time today.
And you're a living embodiment of what happens when you go through that healing process.
Thank you.
It has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Sophia.
About your business, Pleasure Waves. Do check it out for everyone who's listening, watching. Check out Pleasure Waves and allow yourself to experience your own pleasure, even if it's just giving yourself a hug. Thank you, Helen. It's been an honor.
Thank you.
What a beautifully expansive conversation with Helen Rowlands. Helen's final thoughts remind us of something deeply important, that healing is not a one-time revelation, but a layered unfolding. As Helen shared, the blueprint quiz is only the beginning. True transformation comes through peeling back the layers, gently, intentionally, over time. And perhaps that's the real invitation from today's conversation, to become curious about the parts of yourself you may have hidden away, to lovingly meet the personas, the archetypes, and the patterns that have shaped your life, not with judgment, but with compassion. If you would like to explore Helen's work further, be sure to check out Pleasure Waves and learn more about her coaching, the erotic blueprint framework, and the transformative tools she shares. You will find all of Helen's details in the links below. And if this episode sparks something within you, we would love to continue the journey with you. Join us at Sacred You for more empowering conversations, soulful teachings, and a community devoted to awakening, healing, and transformation. Visit our website to explore upcoming events, community offerings, and our Sacred Archetype quiz. Check us out at www.sacredu, that's the letter U, .love. And as always, please subscribe to our podcast, share it with a friend, or leave us a review. We would love to hear your thoughts. As Helen so powerfully shared, when we stop rejecting the parts of ourselves we were taught to suppress, we begin to reclaim our wholeness. The journey to alignment is not about escaping reality. It is about grounding into deeper awareness. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, stay true to yourself, and keep exploring the archetypes of your soul. From our hearts to yours, thank you.